What's up my friends in the Force, and welcome back to the channel. In our latest video we took a dive into the unknown regions of space in our Star Wars galaxy. While each of the species discussed in that recording deserves separate videos in their own right, today's recording will look towards something strange and largely unknown, discovered within the records of Rakatan history, an entity intentionally omitted from our exploration into the unknown regions for the purposes of recounting this tale with all of you. In today's vault opening we will discover the existence of the Rakatan creature known as Mother, found within the stories of our Legends archives. First though, before we start this video, I would like to thank each and every one of you who have subscribed to the channel thus far and continue to show your support with each recording that is released. And if you have just discovered our archives and have enjoyed the type of lore we cover on the channel, do not hesitate to reach out with the Force and activate that subscribe button so you do not miss out on our future vault openings. Now fellow beings in the Force, join us as we dive deep into the story of Mother and her only documented encounter with the Jedi who barely escaped her untempered rage. Our story takes place just 41 years after the Battle of Yavin. The Jedi Knight Jaden Korr had just been given the task to hunt down the group of clones he had encountered in an unknown frozen moon located in the unknown regions. The clones Jaden had encountered in this facility all bred under the approval of Grand Admiral Thrawn in order to create Force users who could make use of both the light and dark sides of the Force without any limitations. This resulted in the scientists using the DNA of a limited number of Jedi and Sith from this time. According to Korr and his description of the clones he had encountered, the clones mirrored the appearances of the Jedi Master Cam Solosar, the Dark Lady of the Sith Lumaya, Mara Jade Skywalker, and even Jaden's old master Kyle Katarn was among the Jedi cloned for this experiment, a project that would be utilized later on in the efforts of the Rising One Sith Order. However, the clones produced under Thrawn's project would prove to be unstable and plagued by a rapid growing disease that targeted their genetic makeup, slowly destroying them bit by bit, forcing them to flee the moon in search of a cure for their affliction. While their disease would be reason enough to not remain on the frozen moon, this alone would not be the reason the clones would embark on their journey, as the clone of the Dark Lady Lumaya, who the other clones referred to as Seer, would reveal the existence of a godlike being communicating with her through the Force, urging Seer to seek her out with promises made to her that the other clones and her would be cured of their illness entirely. However, the entity behind this calling would have a much darker purpose for the clones, particularly for Seer herself. As we continue our tale, the clones had reached an unidentified space station that appeared to be Rakatan in its design. Jaden Korr, Kedron Faal, and Korr's apprentice Mar Idi Shael tracked the clones down to this barren world. The clones would arrive a few moments earlier with the crew of the Junker hot on their tail, with the station extending platforms to both ships as if the station itself was willingly inviting them to its grounds. Once they touched down, with each passing step the station was pulsing as the structure itself could sense their presence, which provoked a retaliation by Mother as it did not commune with the Jedi but with the clones it had led through its long-forgotten structure. Led by Seer, only Soldier and Grace, the child of two deceased clones, would survive the journey, and as they made their way to Mother's location, they would soon find out the true face behind the being known as Mother. The Rakatans were a race perhaps too advanced for their own time. Their inherent intelligence and knowledge of the Force allowed them to achieve technological feats that would have taken other beings generations to perfect. This included what many regard as immortality or eternal life, by entrapping one's consciousness, including their memories, and storing them within a device known as a mind spear, which would then be implanted onto another healthy vessel as they would live on in their newly taken form. Since the Rakatans' technology would be imbued with the energies of the Force, particularly the dark side, this way of manipulation of the Force would create an entity that not even the Rakata themselves would have accounted for. The station where our story takes place would be constructed over a millennia, dating back to the days of the Rakatan Infinite Empire. The Rakatan facility would be imbued with the energies of the Force and seemingly abandoned following the fall of the Infinite Empire. During that millennia, the station itself gradually became self-aware and learned to use its ability to manipulate the Force. Over time, the station began to sense the presence of other living beings across the galaxy. This resulted in the entity developing a sense of loneliness, which over time turned into a sheer hatred for other beings once it felt the freedom of others who possessed organic bodies that allowed them to freely travel the galaxy. After countless attempts of reaching out through the Force for answers on how to obtain what it sought, the Rakatan station felt the disturbance from light years away and had begun to commune with the clone known as Seer, who would become a prophet amongst the group of clones, as she was the only one Mother would commune with. Using Seer's blind faith and the lie that had been fabricated that they would all be restored, Mother would lead them to a planet lost within the unknown regions and deeply through the hidden reaches of the Rakatan station. The Rakatan entity no longer had to hide its intentions from the mind of Seer, as the station grabbed Seer's body, dragging it below into the unseen, as Soldier and Grace watched in horror as the events unfolded right before them. Soldier picked up Grace in his arms and began to run as fast as he could, running into Jaden and Mar in the process. While Jaden and his apprentice were there to capture or destroy the clones, which led to Soldier taking Mar hostage as a bargaining chip against Jaden so he would allow him to escape with Grace unpursued. However, the four could not deny that in this very moment, they would have to rely on each other's strengths in order to escape the station alive. Of the four Force wielders, Grace was only a child, and Jaden's apprentice Mar Irishael had only just recently began his Jedi training as core student, tapping into his latent Force potential much later in his life, and thus only knew of standard saber and Force techniques courtesy of Jaden's rapid training in order to prepare him to stand a much better chance against the clones. To stand a chance, not to prevail, and certainly not to face down an entity of this magnitude. He was just not strong enough in this moment to face down the threat that was the station known as Mother. Therefore, Mar would be the last line of defense against Mother to protect the young Grace. As a loud screeching sound could be heard from the darkness, an emerging shadow was fast approaching, revealing a horrifyingly disfigured Seer, for Mother had taken possession of the Lumaya clone's body. Her presence in the Force described by Jaden as a flavor of the dark side unlike anything he had felt before, something similar to a somber rage. Her form was bloated as if it could just barely contain Mother's intense power, her body riddled with patterned lights that would pulsate, similar to how the station would react when the beings had first touched down on the structure. Though the top half of her body would be humanoid, the bottom half revealed serpent-like tentacles. Seer was no more. Mother had tried to stop the Jedi in their tracks, as it never intended for them to reach as far as they would. During the course of its lifetime, the station had claimed the lives of a large number of sentient beings from nearly all corners of the galaxy. Beings who were unfortunate enough to come across the Rakatan station fueled by the dark side. The zombified beings would relentlessly attack Jaden and his apprentice, despite being cut down by their lightsabers, another testament to the station's unforgivable power. The fight with Mother proved to be more fierce than anything the three had ever encountered in their lives, barely managing to keep at bay Mother's power in the Force, as green torrents of Force lightning radiated from the vessel's fingertips, a feat only made possible by the Night Sister Witches of Dathomir. While the entity blasted Soldier and Mar with its full might, Jaden attempted to redirect Mother's attention to himself, only to be grabbed by the Force and pushed up against the ceiling structure, forcing Jaden to use the Force to cushion the blow to avoid a concussion. However, Mother did not release its grip on Jaden, as it kept pushing him against the ceiling with the intent of crushing the Jedi's lungs altogether, only freeing himself after interference from Soldier. Only in this moment did Jaden truly realize the gravity of their situation. The three Force wielders combined did not stand a chance against the ancient Rakatan entity. Recognizing that their only way of surviving was to escape the station, the Jedi apprentice duo along with Soldier and Grace redirected their efforts to escape the station. However, Jaden Core recognized the grave threat this monster posed for the rest of the galaxy. He aimed to destroy the station, enlisting the help of Kedron Fahal to overload the system of the clone-stolen medical frigate, counting on that the explosion would wipe out the station and Mother along with it. As the four made their way to the junker, Soldier parted ways along with Grace, intending on getting the needed medicine for Grace, as her genetic structure had also been compromised by her parents' own affliction, passed down to their daughter. As the four managed to successfully escape the station, succeeding in taking out the entity in the explosion once and for all, putting the final nail in the coffin of the Infinite Empire. I hope you enjoyed today's recording, my friends. If so, it would be greatly appreciated if you leave a like as you pass through our vaults, as it really supports the channel a great deal. I always enjoy diving into the archives of our Star Wars galaxy and to bring to life the lesser-known Star Wars lore and encounters found in our Legends archives, as well as our canon universe. If you also know of any other Star Wars lore that you would like to see explored on the channel, suggestions are always welcome within the channel as I continue to expand our archives. Be safe, my friends in the Force, and look out for one another. May the Force be with you, always.